KSHB 41. We're NBC.
You're about to see takes an objective look at psychic phenomena, ESP, ghosts, alternative healing, and more. It features real people who claim to have experienced the other side of everyday existence. Today, on The Other Side, can your features help you face facts about your personality?
You can see things like drive or ambition or power.
Can your tongue tell secrets about you without ever speaking?
And the cracking is a typical symptom of spleen and stomach deficiency.
Do your hands provide a roadmap of your future?
You will have 2 children, and I see 2 girls with the first marriage.
I'm going to be married twice.
Reading your body today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Will Miller, and welcome to The Other Side. Is it possible to look at the outside of our body and know what's going on inside? Today we'll meet people who say our body provides a map of incredibly detailed information about everything from how well our organs are working to when we'll get married and how many kids we'll have. Sound impossible? Would anyone here in our audience like to put this to the test today? Oh, we have a lot of volunteers. Well, let's put some microphones on these folks and see what their bodies have to say to us. That's today on The Other Side. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Other Side. Can the palm of your hand give you details about your past, present, and future? Our first guest says yes. Please welcome Melody Tollefson. Hi, Melody. How are you? I've seen palm readers advertised. They go up and down the street. You see them in almost every city. You went to a palmist, and you got some not such good news about work.
Well, it was interesting. Very interesting news.
Yeah?
I was told I would be changing careers. I would be moving on. And I had just gotten a job in January. And it was my second job. I had one for 8 years, and this was a fun one. And everything was going very smoothly. And I saw my palmist once more in May, and he said, well, enjoy it while it lasts, because by October you won't be there anymore. So I went to my boss, and I said, how secure is my job? And he said, very secure, don't worry about it. And the end of October, he decided to put waiters on instead of waitresses in the restaurant, and we were all let go.
Oh, let go, just summarily let go. There was also a prediction about where you'd be living. Tell us about that.
Oh, that was a good one. I had just moved, and I loved my house, and I went to see my palmist, and he told me, you're going to be moving very soon. This was in June. And I said, no way. There's no way. I just moved. I've been here a year. I have a lot of stuff. I'm not moving. I received within 2 weeks a letter saying the landlord was going to raise the rent 25%. And I decided I didn't want to work just to pay rent. So I started packing my bags because I knew I would have to move.
So you started preparing to move?
Oh, sure did.
And how did it turn out?
Oh, it was great. I got the house 2 doors down, half the price of bigger, better house.
And you credit your palmist?
100%.
Let's meet your palmist now. This is Nick Newmont, and you're a psychic and palmist. And you say that you've been reading palms since you were a teenager. Welcome.
Thanks.
Now, Melody says that you told her she would move in September. How did you know that by reading her palm?
Because the hand gives me information. The hand has a built-in calendar that I follow when I read someone. It's like 1993 is on the back, 1994 is on the front, and 95 is in the mail.
You're serious? You really believe this is that accurate?
Absolutely.
How did you learn this?
I started studying it a long time ago because I found when I compared my palm with other people's, it was very unique and very different. And that motivated me to go and study it.
Yours is unique because I can see, even from here, there's a line that goes directly across the top, straight across.
My headline and my heart line, which are 2 of the main lines in the hand, merge together as one. And that's very rare.
What does it mean?
It means someone who is extremely intense, extremely focused, and can achieve anything they want. There's a good side to it, which I just said. There's also a bad side. When you get that focused, you have a tendency to let peripheral issues fall by the wayside.
You get zeroed in, and that's it. And has that been true of your life?
Very much so.
Okay, can you read my palm?
Sure I can.
Yeah. Okay.
All right?
Is it the left palm?
I want to look at both.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how old you are, so I'm going to use the aging kind of generically. Around 35, there are major issues around your career that are going to happen, okay? Or if they have happened, I don't know. But there's major changes there. You're a nice, what I call a nice person to be in a relationship with, but you have a lot of what I would call sort of like self-doubts about relationships. They're difficult for you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? You will, of course that's your name, you will live a long lifetime. Okay? And I'm not just making that up. He will live a long lifetime.
Yeah, good.
And I'd like to point out to everyone that when you have a long lifeline, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll live a long life. There are other factors with other lines that come into play.
Accidents, you could be killed,
right?
Unexpected.
Because you have to read all the lines: the lifeline, the heart line, the lifeline, and the
So does
headline
this tell you
and
something
hope line.
about just sort of the way this is? Does this say something about my metabolism as a physical person, that I ought to live a long life?
It does. And it also tells me by the depth and clarity of your lifeline that you have good metabolism. There's good energy around you.
Mm-hmm. And it's true, there was some career changes at 35. But where did you know that? How did you know that?
Because, and there are a lot of things that we can show the audience so they can read their own hand going forward, especially when we get to the part about relationships. Where this is the fate line. Where the fate line meets the headline, that's age 35. You also have, let's call them dormant, latent, whatever you want to call it, psychic abilities. How about that?
My hands are getting very hot, Nick. What does that mean?
You've got the flu.
Not to worry, I have a long life. No problem.
You will, as you go through your lifetime, you'll have a lot of travel around you. But these vertical lines that are down here, that tells me that. And that's going to start soon for you. Let me see. Oh, here's a guest appearance on The Tonight Show.
All right. Fantastic.
You will make good money, and that I'm not joking about. There's a lot of good money around you. So you'll be very happy.
Good.
Married one time in your life?
I'm remarried.
You're remarried now? I goofed.
Yeah, so that's my first wife. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, I see her now. Right.
The one with the X on her.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
The relationship that you're in now, that started, this is, I would say 30s right here. That's the relationship you'll be in for the rest of your life.
All right, good.
So that's good news.
And that feels like my first more mature relationship.
The other one is hardly evident. In your hand, between the base of the little finger and your heart line, that distance in there is also your lifespan, which is approximately 75 years. And you can look in there, and if you have big horizontal lines, those are major relationships in your lifetime. So if you're married now and you've got one coming up, means you've got a problem.
There are a couple of people weeping in the audience right now.
Bad news, blame me.
This is very ancient.
It goes back many centuries.
It was very, very accurate, what you said. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Well, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to put Nick and his palm reading skills to the ultimate test. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about reading the body with Thomas Nick Newman. During the break, we picked some volunteers who wanted Nick to read their palms, and we have one volunteer to start.
Hi.
What's your name?
Tammy.
Tammy, good to meet you.
Tammy.
Okay, let's see your hands. Have you ever had this done before?
No, not at all. I'm excited.
Okay, first of all, I know you want to know about relationships.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, you have, marriage will come for you, I would say, in your late 20s, all right? Now, one thing I want to tell you about that relationship is that you'll have to take a lot of cautions with it, because it shows me there's another marriage line that will come in your late 40s. You do have a long life ahead of you. You are a little bit difficult to be in relationships with, okay?
I've been told.
Something interesting about her hand, her heart line, which is the top one, it comes up underneath this finger right here. And that's not a good sign because it shows me a person that's very possessive / selfish about their emotions.
That's me.
Is that you?
Yes.
See, now the truth comes out.
Very much so.
So you need to go on. By the way, the good news is as you go on in your lifetime, the hands of the line do change. You have the ability
Good.
As I read the shape of her hand and the length of the fingers in relation to that, it shows me that she's more of a reserved person.
Is that true, Tammy?
Reserved? I don't know about reserved. I feel very, like, outgoing kind of person, but I guess in some things, yes.
How do we know that you're not using body language to help you do the reading?
Well, that's a good question. At this point in time, I'm purely using the lines in the hand. I'm not using my psychic abilities.
Because sometimes that happens. In other words, you can get a reading, a feel for the person who's sitting with you. And
Right, there are vibrational responses that come from the person that I read.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, do you have any reaction? What's your reaction, Tammy? Obviously, you got some difficult news today about your relationships. And
Yes. What about, like, health
Your health...
and kids?
Uh-huh. Kids with the first marriage.
With the first marriage, really?
Right.
I'm going to be married twice?
That's what it looks like.
Oh.
But you will have 2 children. And by the way,
will?
right, in this part, the crease of the thumb, there are chains in there, little links, and those show how many children that you'll have. The smaller the link, it's a girl, a bigger link is a boy.
So
wow.
mine is?
I see 2 girls.
Two
Two
girls.
girls. Well, great. Thank you, Tammy.
Okay,
I appreciate
thank you.
this. That's
You're welcome.
wonderful. Good job. Okay. Yeah, the question remains about whether or not you're reading some visual clues. So what we did was we're going to put you to the test. I think there's a box right there in front of you.
There is.
Pull that out, put that on the top. And in there we have volunteers who had their palms Xeroxed, and their names are not on them. And you're going to tell us what you can see based on the Xerox of their palm.
Okay, this is a woman because there are long fingernails. This person has a tendency to worry too much, and she worries about things that other people say to her. These are these transverse lines right here. She also does not have a lot of self-confidence. Her thumbs are very close to the finger. She is a good person to have a relationship with. Her heart line is very healthy. She also, in her family, I need to point out, while it may not necessarily be a part of her, she does have what I would call issues around the health of the heart in her family. Goes back several generations. However, I don't see that affecting her because she does have what I call a good health triangle.
So maybe a history of heart disease in the family, possibly.
Right, right. But the overall health picture is good.
What number is that?
Number 1.
Number 1. Who's number 1? Andrea? Is that Andrea? Stand up. What do you think?
He's right on, like everything. As soon as he said worry, I was crazy because yesterday I was just telling my dad about how worried I am about all these things I have to do and moving and all these crazy things going on, so I have been real worried. And
that can give your father a heart attack, you know that.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to live a long time, so
Great.
good. Okay. All right, how about the next one?
Okay, this is a very intense person because they press their hands very hard on the glass. This is also someone who has a very worrisome nature. All these lines across here show me that. This is also someone who has a very strong sexual nature, okay? But I say that in a very complimentary way. In this part of the hand, this is known as the Mount of Venus. This tells me how sexual, how passionate you are. And when it is well-rounded and fleshy, like this one, you have a very good attitude towards romance.
That could be a new thing with guys in bars, you know?
Yeah,
like...
instead of what sign are you? It's show me your Mount of Venus.
Okay, so a passionate person, but a
Right.
worrier.
And a worrier. She also is the Mount of Venus is very fleshy in her left hand, too, which also shows me a very healthy libido.
Good. Career? Does this cause career problems?
It looks to me, no, it doesn't cause career problems. I don't see this person sleeping with her boss.
What number? What number is this person?
Number 2.
Lisa. 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 Let me see your Mount Venus here.
I think that's fat.
I don't think that's... No, I'm
No, he
kidding.
says it's hot libido. What do you think about what he said?
I don't know about the passion, but I do know about the... I don't think I'm a worrier. But the passion, hey.
You seem worried about
I
his
hope
comments
so.
about worrying.
Yeah, I'm worried about your comment about worrying.
Well, thanks, Nick. You know how sometimes you look at a face and make an immediate judgment about whether you're going to like that person or trust them? What you're doing is actually basic face reading, and we'll find out what else your face has to say when we come back.
When the other side continues, does your face reveal more about you than your emotions? Stay with us.
We're back, and we're talking about reading the body. What does your face say about you? Joining us now is someone who can tell us. Please welcome face reader Lillian Lasefko, a face reader. Lillian, this is actually an ancient Chinese art, if you will, isn't it? Tell us about face
Actually,
reading.
it's ancient science. This is part of Chinese medicine. Originally, it was used to diagnose illness from the face. And at some point in time, it did branch off and become a way of reading personality as well, although it's still used as diagnosis.
Actually, Western doctors in some ways do that. They will, in the medical examination, will look at the color of your skin and...
The light in your eyes. I actually do teach nurses and acupuncturists for credit, Chinese face reading as Chinese medicine.
What facial features do you look at?
I look at everything on the face. You can actually divide the face into 2 halves. You can divide it into 3 different zones. You can tell different things from those divisions. But you can also look at every single feature and all the markings that you put on your face. So if you look at someone's face, I tend to concentrate on 5 basic features. The ears, which have to do with childhood. They have to do with risk-taking ability. For example, if you have large ears, you tend to be more of a risk-taker than if you have small ears. You're more cautious if you have small ears. I look at the eyebrows, and eyebrows are a sign of testosterone in the body. So if you have really thick eyebrows, you tend to be more aggressive or have more temper than the average person.
What about when you see those people who just have one eyebrow across their head? Avoid them? Would that be a fair thing to say? Avoid them?
Yeah, they're very aggressive, and that can be very good in sports. It's not necessarily a bad trait. It depends on how you use it.
How you focus.
Right. And if you have softer eyebrows, you tend to be more passive. Doesn't mean you can't get mad. It just means it takes a little bit longer to get there. I also look at the eyes. I could probably talk about eyes for 3 days. But in general, you look primarily at the light in the eyes, and you look to see how bright someone's eyes are. That tells a lot about health. How dull they are, that tells they're either depressed or sick or something else. And there's lots of different shapes, but I spend most time looking at the interior of the eye and the expressions that are emitted. You can also look at the nose, and you can see things like drive or ambition or power or the desire for any of those things. And you can look at the mouth, and you can see generosity, sexuality, sensuality, and how willing someone is to express emotions.
Key question, what happens when you have a facelift?
A facelift is very interesting. What happens is 5 to 7 years after you have a facelift, you have to do it again. And that's because expressions cause the markings, and you use the same expressions, and therefore you use the same muscles, and you mark the face again.
But in year 1 or 2, that might throw you off, for instance.
It doesn't throw me off in terms of personality, because even though the lines have been, diminished a little bit, you can still see where they used to be, because you can't take away all the lines.
Does this have a value? You mentioned you talked to nurses about this. Does this have a medical value?
Yeah, I deal with medical groups quite a bit. What happens is the face actually correlates to the body. The saying is, as it is above, so it goes below. And what you can see is where in the body there's distress or blocked emotions, and you can help people determine what kinds of things they can do to help their health. I look at the psychological, emotional underlay of the disease process. So at least it's one area you can control. You can't control your genetics, and you can't control necessarily your environment, but you can control how you act and react emotionally.
Okay. Now, you're going to actually come out into our audience and
Yes.
look at a few faces, if you will, right? Why don't you come on out?
Sure.
We'd like their face read here. Here, come on out. Yes.
Well, first of all, the most important thing on his face is the fact that he has a very high, very rounded forehead. And this is actually a sign of imagination. Because his eyes are deep set, you'll also see that he thinks a lot. So this man is in his head a lot. He's got lots of ideas going in there all the time, and he's in his head a lot.
Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Someone else.
Well, first of all, there's a couple of real important traits in her face. Her eyes are very emotional. She's got eyes that, first of all, slant slightly downward, which means she's very soft-hearted, very kind-hearted. At the same time, you tend to be very hard on yourself. There's a line that comes down across the eyelid like this, which means if you had a critical parent and/or you're very self-critical. So even though you're very compassionate about everybody else, you're your harshest judge.
Is that true?
Very true. I could cry.
Ding, ding, ding.
She's very emotional.
Well, this lady here.
Hi. Well,
Stand up.
now, she has the kind of nose that is called the truth teller's nose, which means if she sees untruth, she has trouble not speaking the truth. And so she's a very honest person. She either doesn't say or she says exactly what she thinks, one of the two.
Is that true?
That's very true.
So you're telling the truth now?
Yes, I am.
Absolutely. And you also have a good sense of humor, so one of the ways to deal with truth is use your humor to tell it, and it'll soften the blow a little bit, okay?
Great. Wonderful.
Right
Thank
on.
you very much.
Good for you. Okay, good. How about you? Come on now, this lady here.
Now, here's a lady who's full of mischief. I want you... This is one person who I'll read the light of her eyes, and if you can focus on her eyes, you can see a lot of sparkle in those eyes. She's really a lot of fun. I definitely go out with this one and have a good time for an evening because she's got that twinkle. She knows how to get in trouble.
Is that true about you? You're a party woman?
Oh, no.
No?
I don't.
You're lying to me, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I do have a lot of fun, though.
She has a lot of fun. I wouldn't call it partying because what it is, it's more private than that because even though she can be very social, it's in here, how she does it is secretive or private because her eyelids come halfway down across her eyes.
I see. And I'm irritating you now, aren't I, by my question? Oh, okay. Okay,
She's
good.
very mischievous.
Good, okay. Try somebody else.
Okay, let me
Stand over here.
so I can take a look at you. Oh, you have beautiful eyebrows. You are very stubborn, but that's okay.
Is that right?
However,
So right.
well, you're very changeable about your stubbornness. If you look, some of her eyebrows go this way and some of her eyebrows go that way, which means she'll stand her ground for a certain length of time, and then if someone hits her with something that makes sense to her, she'll go, you're right, and then she'll switch that way. And she'll go the opposite direction.
So you're stubborn, but you can be persuaded.
Yeah, very true.
With,
If someone gives me a
with
logical.
logic, though. It's got to be logical.
Yeah, logical
Yeah.
explanation.
And the other thing about it, the arch in the eyebrow is very strong, which means if she decides to move, she moves very quickly.
Okay.
Once she makes up her mind, she does it. But it might take her a little while to get there. But once she does, that's it.
Would you be willing to sit down now?
Yeah, I think so. No.
Okay. Thank you, Lillian. If you look into my eyes, you may be able to tell that I'm about to go to a commercial. When we come back, we'll look into your eyes and find out what they say about you. Stay with us.
When the other side returns, a close-up look at the windows of the soul. The other side will return.
Welcome back to the other side. We're reading the body today. Is it possible to look into someone's eyes and tell about their health and well-being? Yes, says our next guest, Sam Rose, who is an iridologist or eye reader. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. You read eyes mostly to tell about a person's health. Is that the main purpose?
Because I'm a nutritionist. I use it as one of my tools.
And tell us about iridology. How does it work?
Well, the wonderful thing about the irises and the eyes is that, and the thing that makes the most sense is that nature provided an organ that not only allows us to see out, but for others to see in if we know what we're looking for.
It's the window of the body, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I'm looking into an iris, I am reading nerve tissue. It's the only place on the body where you can actually look and see nerve tissue. And the irises will tell you, by virtue of the fact that they're connected to the brain, what the brain knows about the condition of the body.
Interesting. What do you see when you look in someone's eyes?
Well, when I look into the colored part of the eye, which is the iris, what I'm reading are fibers. And I think there's a picture
Yeah, we have
of
this
it
on the
right
monitor,
now. This is the iris of a generally very healthy individual. You want to think about the fibers as you would fibers in a cloth. The straighter and the more densely packed those fibers, the stronger that person is. And you can see that this person has almost silk-like threads, very straight.
Physically strong, you mean?
Tissue integrity in his body is very strong.
Tissue integrity.
That's right. In other words, this person doesn't get sick very often. This person doesn't fall prey to everything that comes along. Now, this person, on the other hand, has very weak tissue integrity in their body. You can see that those fibers are not straight. It's more like daisy chaining, lots of holes in those fibers. And that person would get sick at the drop of a hat and have to take very good care of themselves.
And is that a person who is now sick, would you say? I mean, is that what a person looks like after they're sick?
Not necessarily.
So someone can be healthy, but their eye could look like that.
That's right. Some of the strongest, most physical people I've met have had very, very weak constitutions, and they've had to be health conscious in order to be healthy.
Okay, well, during the break, we picked a couple of volunteers from the audience. This is Bonnie. You're now going to give your eyes to the science of iridology, Bonnie.
I need to get my little equipment here.
Will you be putting a needle in her eye? Or
No, nothing like that.
Bonnie wants to know.
Hi.
Yeah.
All right. Now look right here and open your eyes as much as you can. Okay, one of the things I see right away is that Bonnie's skin isn't breathing as much as it might. There's something called a scurf rim, which indicates that there's congestion in her skin, which is one of her organs of elimination. In fact, it's the largest organ of elimination in her body. And what Bonnie would benefit from would be either saunas or exercise where she sweats a lot to get her skin to release and breathe better than it is. Very pretty eyes, too. There's also nerve rings in these irises.
Uh-oh.
Nerve rings, or stress rings, or cramp rings, as they're called, indicate that Bonnie doesn't have a mechanism for releasing stress in her life. In other words, she faces stress, but she doesn't have a way to let it go, like exercise or meditation or yoga.
Bonnie, does that ring true, that you have a difficult time getting rid of stress?
Oh, I've been under a lot of stress. I don't know about having a problem getting rid of it.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that, and good luck.
Thank you.
If you want to scream in place to get the stress out, that's really all right. And Johnny, where's Johnny? Come on, Johnny.
Now, John's eyes are going to be very, very challenging, because dark eyes... You have very dark eyes? Yes. Yeah. Dark eyes are very, very challenging. The blue and the green and the gray are very simple. Look right here and open as much as you can. Thanks. John could stand a good internal cleansing.
Internal? What do you mean? Like
internal cleansing. In other words, he's got some material in his body that wants to come out, that his body's laboring under. And that he needs to eliminate through some sort of a cleansing process.
Do you have to go to the bathroom, John? I mean,
no. It's more than that. There are 5 channels of elimination in the human body: the colon, the lymph, the lungs, the kidneys, and the skin. And all 5 channels have to be functioning properly in order for that body to be free of toxic material.
So it's toxicity.
It's toxicity that I'm reading.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think I smoke, that's why.
You smoke?
Oh, yeah, all right.
Johnny. So now can you tell that? Could you tell that he smokes?
Well, let me just take a look. Look right here.
There's a little hunks of tobacco. You can tell.
Open? Can you open a little wider? Yeah. Thanks. John should not be a smoker because there is inherent weakness in his lung tissue, meaning he was given an inherent weakness, and he should not be challenging that weakness by smoking.
Which millions of people can relate to. All of us have some challenges genetically with heart disease or cancer or whatever.
And you can live very healthfully with inherent weaknesses if you don't put a strain on them.
Okay, John.
Thanks,
let's start living cleaner now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We want you to live a long time and be on our anniversary show. Okay. He's got questions here.
Sam, is there any scientific explanation why information about our bodies would end up in our irises?
I don't believe that there's ever been extensive, exhaustive research on this. It's really a matter of practitioners over 100 years or so seeing time and time again that certain things hold true from one client to the next. So it's really a matter of
You've had some pretty dramatic turnaround stories in your experience, haven't you?
Yes.
You've seen something in someone's eyes? Tell us about
One very, very dramatic one. A woman brought a 4-month-old baby into the clinic, The baby was bundled up in blankets. It had 2 pairs of socks on its feet and mittens on its hands. It was summertime. The baby was ice cold. It was very pale and listless, dark circles around the eyes.
Is this what we're seeing in the monitor?
Well, this is an example of something very much like what I saw in the iris of this baby's eyes. The mother had been to an emergency room. They could find nothing wrong with the child. We took one look into this baby's iris, and we noticed something called a scurf rim. That dark area around the outside of the iris where the fibers disappear into blackness is called a scurf rim, and it means that the skin isn't breathing properly. Well, when we looked into this baby's eyes, that scurf rim was about double the thickness and very, very black. So the first thing we said was, take all of these blankets and clothes off this child, bring it out into the sunlight, take this skin brush and brush this child, which the woman did for about an hour out in the sunlight. When she brought the child back, its color was rosy, it was nice and warm, its eyes were bright. Basically, the child came back to life.
All just by looking at the eyes?
In 2 seconds, you could see what was wrong with his child.
Well, thank you, Sam. Does your tongue always tell the truth? How to read a tongue, next on the other side. If you'd like to join us here on the other side as a member of our studio audience, please call us for tickets at 213-520-2307. Welcome back. We're talking about reading the body, and joining us now is someone who says the tongue speaks volumes about our personality, health, and future. Dr. Victoria Liao is a chiropractor who also practices the ancient Chinese art of shuzhen, or tongue reading. I've often felt sorry for dentists looking into people's mouths. What's it like to look at tongues all day?
Actually, it makes all my patients' day because they got to stick their tongue out of their doctor without any kind of guilty feeling because I asked for it.
You also, I understand, you'll feel the person's pulse, too. Why do you do that?
Okay, that's the main branch of Chinese medicine diagnosis. We heavily relied on feeling the pulse simply on the wrist side. That's really the radial pulse of the body. And then we feel on the right wrist and the left wrist will be different position, represent different organ energy in the body. And then corresponding with the tongue diagnosis together, we know the whole map of the body energy. We also divide the whole tongue into 4 big areas. 3 portions. The tip of the tongue is the heart area. In between the tip and the spleen stomach area is lung area. And the center of the tongue is the spleen and stomach. The root of the tongue is kidney area. On the side of the tongue represent the energy of the liver and gallbladder. We talk about the organ is a series of symptom, sign, and disease. We put it under heart. For example, heart energy balance will represent insomnia. So by balance to the heart energy, then the insomnia will go away.
I see. So even though it says heart or lung, it doesn't correspond to the heart or the lung?
Actually organ of the heart or lung.
Well, during the break, I'm sure you're not surprised, we picked some more volunteers, and let me see, we have, Melanie. Come on, this is Melanie. Melanie, how are you?
Fine.
Come on up. Melanie's going to have her tongue read.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi.
How are you?
I chewed gum before, so.
Okay. First of all, I would like to read your pose in conjunction with your tongue together, okay? I don't know if you're nervous or not, Melanie. You're a very restless person, huh? Constantly, even you sit down, you're thinking and thinking, you never can tone yourself down. Is that right?
That's true. That's true.
In the morning when you wake up, before you get up on the bed, it's very hard to push yourself to get up. Once you get up, you're okay. Let me see your tongue. Okay. Take a look at your own tongue. You want to hold it for yourself? Okay, stick it out. You see the color of the tongue, we go by three categories. First, the shape of the tongue. Compare the shape of the tongue compared to Melanie's size is really regular tongue. Okay, then we go to the color of the tongue, and there's no surface kind of cracking or anything. A little bit in the center on the spleen and stomach area. Okay, that's what's showing she get up and dragging a little bit. The energy of the spleen and stomach is a little bit weak there.
So what does that mean in terms of...
That's what the symptom I asked before. I say you get up in the morning, you're dragging a little bit before you can get up. It's affecting her energy per se under the spleen and stomach.
Is that true, Melanie?
I've
then dragon later.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The next thing is we'll see the teeth mark, any kind of teeth mark. On the side, there's a little bit edging teeth mark here, and also showing the energy is a little bit deficiency. Okay, next we go on the color of the tongue. According to this, I think the color of the Melanie Lee's tongue is pretty okay. Not bad. And the coating, the next part is the coating of the tongue. Thin white coating is a normal color. Pink color is normal color of the tongue. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good, okay, so she's a healthy person then.
Yeah, but a little bit energy deficiency that we need to balance out.
Okay. And like, are you under stress of any kind?
Just a little
Yeah.
stress, but I have been lazy, really lazy getting up.
Okay, good. All right, thanks a lot, Melanie. I appreciate that. You have a sort of a demonstration for our whole audience with the tongue?
Oh, yeah. If you can turn to each other. First of all, when you want to look at the tongue, will be a proper lighting. We don't have any problem today. The second one will be extend the tongue fully, but without excess strength. Otherwise, you tend to darken the color of the nature of the tongue. The third thing will be extend only 15 to 20 seconds, okay? If prolonged extending will be increase the blood floating into the tongue, increase the color too. The fourth one is don't eat or drink anything, any kind of heavy diet food. So you're coating your tongue, you drive your Chinese nurse not
And so they can look and see if they have a healthy tongue. Look at your neighbor's tongue.
Take a look at your own.
Look at your neighbor's
your
tongue.
neighbor's tongue.
Yeah. Anyone see any major liver problems?
How could I do some of this at home? What can you...
Best thing is before you brush your tongue in the morning, brush your teeth, stick your tongue out and take a look. Get a perspective what the regular color of your tongue is. Because when I say pink, everybody's skin tone is different. Okay, you need to see get an idea of what your basic color really is, and then we start from there. Then you get used to your eyes to what your normal condition is.
Okay, what are those little bumps that you get on your tongue? Some people refer to as lie bumps, and they hurt. They're like on the side of your tongue.
If it's on the tip of your tongue, normally it's saying you have a lot of heart heat. It's a heat condition. It's an axis condition, means too much condition, and then you get that kind of bump.
No, but it's on the side.
On the side will be, remember we talk about liver and gallbladder? Maybe you have a lot of anger or emotional problem causing that. Okay?
Take care of yourself, you hear me? Take care of yourself. Okay, this is great. Well, thanks, Doc. Don't go away. More body reading when we return. Welcome back to the other side. We brought back all of our body readers, palm, face, eye, and tongue, and our audience has some questions.
Well, I just wanted to ask, what's your name?
Lillian?
Lillian?
The face lady?
Yeah, I just met a guy, and I wanted to know what should I look at in his face to tell me if he's for
Yeah,
me.
good question.
Well, it depends on what you want. If you want someone who's like you've got to look for someone who's emotional, who has large eyes and a large mouth, and is willing to express emotions. If you think you're deficient, perhaps, in not being analytical enough, you may want someone with narrower eyes or a narrower mouth, and then they might fill in some things that you don't have. So you can look for a variety of different things depending whether or not you want someone like you or different from you. But you also have a couple of traits that show you have a lot of passion, so I'd recommend someone who's a little on the emotional side, okay?
I wanted to know, like, does the size and shape or the color of the irises have anything to do why some people fall in love at first sight? Do you think?
That's a bit beyond the scope of my work. I would say that if you have a thing for blue eyes or green eyes or brown eyes, it might make you more apt to fall for someone of that color. But in terms of iridology, there is no...
Yeah, but you and Sam are making some nice eye contact.
We are, aren't we?
Yeah, and you were speechless, Sam.
I was.
We're going to arrange something after the show.
This question's for Nick. I was wondering, can we change the future that's predicted in our palm? And if we do, will our palm change to then match the future that we have to
that's a
change?
really good question.
Yeah.
We can change our future, and the lines in the hand do change from time of birth all the way as we go through our lifetime.
So ideally, I come to you, I get a palm reading, I'm 30 years old, you find some worrisome or troublesome things in my palm, and I take your advice and I get out and I change myself, and my palm might look different than it would have otherwise when I'm 40 if I came back to you?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Especially if we get into health and health-related issues, dietary. If I give a warning on something I see that comes from the family.
You're shaking your head, Sam. That would also be true in iridology?
will change also.
And tongue and face.
The face can change,
Yeah.
yes.
I believe that.
Is it possible to read somebody's fingerprints?
Yes, it is. And that is, if I got into the intricacies of that, I'd cure insomnia right here on the spot. It's very difficult, but police use it. In the fingertips, there are different kinds of fingertips. There are whorls, there's triangles, there are a lot of different kinds of fingerprints, and they all mean something.
What type of education did you have to take in order to acquire this knowledge, or was it just handed down to you from ancestors or relatives?
Yeah, where do you learn iridology, palm reading, face reading?
Well, I'm very fortunate in that I was taught by a fellow named Lindsay Duncan, who is a student of Bernard Jensen. And Bernard Jensen is the man who brought iridology to the West and is credited with...
Mr. Iridology?
Mr. Iridology, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned from my Chinese grandmother from the age of 5, and it was passed down in her family from many generations. But I also spent a very long time, approximately 12 years, researching all the ancient texts I could find, all the Western medical, psychological, anthropological studies I could find to correlate it. So I feel comfortable bringing it out into the Western world.
Great.
You have to read just about every book on palmistry that's out there and get to the point where you start inserting your own opinions on it, because everyone is different. However, there's a man that goes back a long time ago. His name is Cairo, and he is the most noted authority.
Cairo?
Yes.
Sounds mysterious. Like what, Ed Cairo or just Cairo? Just Cairo?
Cairo.
Okay.
There's different kind of Oriental Medicine College throughout the United States, and also after you graduate from that, it's like the same thing. You read a book, you do the research, and then you learn from your patient every day. Even your old patient come in, every day is a new day. You start with that, and then we go on from there.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank all of you people. This was really just fascinating to me. Our audience volunteers also, I want to thank them for letting us read their bodies. We have a great show coming up for you next time. Have a look.
Our very first broadcast of The Other Side featured medium James Van Praagh reaching out to the dead.
And he's with you. He's with you. He loves you.
I feel it.
Now, due to overwhelming demand from our audience, James Van Praagh is back to contact the departed loved ones of viewers who called and wrote to us.
I've always felt like my dad was with me.
Loved ones who died so suddenly, there was no time to say goodbye.
That's next time on The Other Side. I'm Will Miller. So long.
Dr. Will Miller's wardrobe furnished by Rick Pallet, Sherman Oaks, California.
Tonight, it's must-see TV Thursday, starting with Mad About You, followed by Friends, Seinfeld, and more Mad About You. Then it's ER, television's biggest new hit of the season. And it's all tonight, right here on NBC.